David, you may be an Armenian Republican, but you're the smartest of us all. So why don't you give all the listeners some advice for season 2?
Oh my God. Some advice, huh?
Yeah.
Here's my advice, guys. I don't have anything.
I think the advice is write what you know.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Write what you know. Or write with your heart.
Oh.
Don't listen to what other people say.
Oh, I like
Unless
this.
they're smarter than you. And then listen.
And if they're an Armenian Republican, then definitely be listening.
This is going to stick. I hate this.
I had to update it a little bit,
did.
you know, the quote to make it apply to our situation. But, you know, that's an all-timer right there.
And I'm just going to say Jennifer so that I say that first, not you. There we go.
Podcast. I'm your co-host, Brandon, and with me, as always, is your other co-host,
David. Would you write a script for that opening?
I did, because I want to make sure that it's correct every time, and I don't say that. Actually, I don't. I think I've completely forgotten the part that I used to mess up on now. Like, I think I might have solved the problem just by writing this down. It's now like stuck in my head that it has to be this way. So I might have fixed every problem I've ever had with this intro in season 2.
Ironically, every episode where you're introducing the podcast, it's going to be like nice and clean. And then on the other hand, every other episode, I'm just going to be like, what is this podcast called? Who are you? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You know, you can write a script too, because I am all about streamlining everything that we've ever done on this podcast for season 2, because we are back and we are better than ever, as promised. We have 3 amazing things to talk about today. 2 albums, and neither one is an album. One of them's an EP and one of them's a mixtape. And then we got a movie that actually is a movie. So that'll be good. We're keeping it normal there for you this time. God, we have so much to talk about. I guess I got to ask you right away, what have you watched in this past season break?
We haven't done this in so long, aka the normal amount of time. We haven't done this 1 week.
Correct. 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days that I literally forgot that you're going to ask that question, even though you ask it every week. Man, just, starting off the season with a bang, you could say that I am at my bottoms.
If it makes you feel any better, I'll go first while you think of something to talk about. But it's going to be short. I didn't listen to anything good in this past week. I listened to a bunch of albums, and none of them were exciting. And we've reached the part of the year where it's like, I hate music again because I'm not hearing anything good. And it's been like this since like December. I was looking back at last year, at like this time last year, what I had heard. And I had heard 3 albums that were in contention for my top 10 of the year. And one of them ended up making it. And at this time, so far this year, I've heard 1 album that is on my list.
That's crazy.
Pretty sad. That album is Wuthering Heights by Charli XCX, which I talked about last week. But there are 2 albums from last year, from last December, that are above it currently. But what have you watched in this past week?
Well, I watched the 2019 film Hustlers, which I don't know if you've ever heard about this film.
I have heard of this.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm happy people have heard about this film because I did like it. It's directed by Lorene Scafaria. Constance Wu and Jennifer Lopez are in it. They're both very good. And yeah, it's about a group of strippers that decide to drug guys and get their money that way to make it faster. And that's their hustle pretty much. I think it's a very well-made film. I really enjoyed it. I think it does a very good balance of being very fun while also presenting what would actually happen. It's a 4. I enjoyed it. Can you hear that?
I believe there's a car accident outside of David's window right now, but it's okay. We're not doing it again. We're gonna keep rolling.
A car went off. I don't know if there is an accident. We'll see.
Okay, there was such a big, like, loud noise that I thought maybe it was revving up into a car accident. But this is fine. I mean, this is like what season 1 was like too. The start of season 1, I think there were ambulances.
Exactly. We literally started off our recording today with me having internet connectivity problems.
Something's never changed.
So we're just back with
the season 1's greatest hits right here.
Exactly.
But what we didn't cover on season 1, somehow we did not cover my favorite artist of all time, Charli XCX.
That is
so
crazy.
To make up for it, we're doing 2 projects by her tonight. So let's get into it. This is Vroom Vroom, the 3rd EP and first studio EP by Charli XCX. It was released on February 26th, 2016 by her newly established independent label, Vroom Vroom Recordings, wonder where she got that name, Asylum Records, and Atlantic Records UK. There were no official singles released from the EP, but the title track is sometimes considered a single because it has a music video, and it's, fairly well known. So, this is the part where I would normally ask you, have you heard of Charli XCX before? But considering that we both saw her live together, yeah. I know you have. So I'm going to ask you instead, what have you heard by her before listening to these 2 projects?
There are a few songs that I've heard of her from, I'm guessing, various albums, various EPs, various featured, her being featured on other people's albums, stuff like that. Obviously, one of the big ones is Boom Clap, which I feel like most people have heard.
Yes.
And then on top of that, I've obviously heard Brat, which is the album that we saw live. And I am quite a big fan of that album. So going into this, I have liked Charli XCX for quite a while. I will say, I feel like she is an artist that experiments a lot and does things in a lot of very different styles. And it definitely is like, for me at least, I prefer some of the styles she has done over the other styles. Although obviously you can still see the talent in all the styles that she does, which I think is what happens, whenever an artist experiments a lot. I think anyone prefers some of the styles over the other ones. And I do think we will see some of that here.
I agree, even for myself. So I got to tell you, Charli XCX is Charlotte Aitchison from Essex, England. She first broke into the mainstream as a feature on I Love It by Iconopop and Fancy by Iggy Azalea. I'm sure you know both of those songs. You may not know them by title, but I know you know both of them because they were huge. Her first big solo hit obviously came with Boom Clap 2014, which was featured in the movie The Fault in Our Stars, which we should watch probably at some point.
I didn't know that.
Yes, kind of fun. And if you look up the Boom Clap single version on Spotify, it is in German. It says from the movie, and then it's The Fault in Our Stars in German. I do not know why, but it's there. That's a fun fact for you.
That's funny. I like that.
Boom Clap was also the big single from her second album, Sucker, which produced 2 other minor hits, Break the Rules and Doing It. And this is where it gets a bit muddy. I have heard that she was shelved as an artist during this time by her label, but I've also heard that said after her debut album, True Romance, flopped. Either way, the reason that I've heard stated that she was shelved is because she wasn't supposed to be on Atlantic Records and they didn't know how to market her. Her first album was released by IM Sound Records. Sucker was released and partly marketed by Neon Gold Records, both of which ended up being bought by Warner Music, which Atlantic is part of. And then she was kind of just inherited. And from what it sounds like, no one could agree on a direction for her career. And from what she said over the years about the Atlantic UK team, it sounded like she was not part of the creative decisions about her career.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And that led her to do kind of whatever she felt like, which in this case was working with experimental hyperpop collective and record label PC Music. This was, of course, the wrong decision, according to her label. And that's where the Vroom Vroom EP comes into play. And I want to ask you a real quick question. Have you heard any part of this EP before?
No, actually.
Okay,
I've
cool.
never heard this EP.
Throughout 2015, Charli had been working with multiple producers from PC Music, most notably and consistently A.G. Cook and Sophie. PC Music was at the forefront of what is now retroactively called hyperpop and or bubblegum bass, which is pretty weird and kind of an acquired taste in general. We've obviously covered hyperpop before with 100 Gex, and we all know how that went.
Yeah.
And the team at Atlantic Records was not a fan of this new sound, but since Charli was inherited from 2 other labels, it didn't seem like they were too concerned about her direction at first, until it was time to market her music, which they felt mainstream pop fans were not ready for and not going to like. So the first potential date for this third album, the follow-up to Sucker, was February 2016. And you may be thinking, isn't this when Vroom Vroom came out? And the answer is yes. By this time, it seems like Atlantic didn't want the full responsibility of Charli's third album flopping, so they allowed her to release Vroom Vroom kind of pseudo-independently and then license back to them as a teaser and introduction into the sound and ethos of this third album. This EP is both hyperpop and bubblegum bass, like I said, because they're kind of the same, but also not. I did not intend for that to sound like Brat, but it kind of did. I think of hyperpop as more of a catch-all term for the different kinds of just abrasive and experimental electronic music, and usually bubblegum bass is referred to as the first wave of hyperpop, the PC music sound. The genre itself used to be called PC music, after A.G. Cook's record label. And the idea behind bubblegum bass was a maximalist approach to overly commercialized, perfect pop music, mixed with synthesizers and electronic sounds. And A.G.'s first attempt at this was a pseudo label called Gamsonite, and it was named out of admiration for David Gamson, who's a connection to Kesha's album, who I briefly talked about on there being like kind of an inspiration from what I could see of what like hyperpop became. And it turns out that I was onto something, and I never even knew that. I just learned this while I'm doing the research for this. So that's kind of cool and almost validates me in a way that I crave. So
Right.
Also, interestingly enough, A.G. Cook would work with David Gamson on Hannah Diamond's album Perfect Picture, and Hannah Diamond is featured on this EP. So that's kind of a fun, weird little backwards connection.
It's all interconnected.
Exactly. Sophie is the producer for all 4 of the songs on here, and her approach is much more focused on electronic sounds versus this kind of maximalist pop approach that PC music was originally known for. A lot of the sounds on this EP and the sounds throughout Sophie's discography form the basis of hyperpop as we now know it. And now I wanted to know, did you know that this was a hyperpop or bubblegum bass EP before listening?
I remember hearing that Charli influenced hyperpop. So knowing that this was one of her earlier works, I kind of went into it with that in mind. I will say, to me, maybe because it influenced it, it did feel like I could definitely see the elements of hyperpop in it, but it definitely felt not restrained, but like an earlier version that didn't go off into the deep end yet.
This is more of the bubblegum bass sound, the first wave.
Yeah, and I will say that does work a lot better for me than the second wave, which I think a part of that is also just that I like Charli XCX too.
I was wondering about that. And I wanted to ask you as well, what were your expectations going in? And if there were any influences to that? I mean, you kind of touched on that a little bit. But then also I wanted to ask you, did you have a score in mind for this EP before you listened to it?
I didn't really have a score. I knew that it was very divisive. So I kind of went into it imagining that it would be very experimental, which made me wonder how I would react. I honestly did not really know what to expect, because knowing how much she experiments and knowing the fact that this was divisive made me not know what to expect at all. So yeah, I didn't really know. I was excited to go into it though.
So I want to tell you, this EP, it was not a hit.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Mainstream audiences did not like it, and most critics dismissed it as either too weird or unfocused or just kind of a joke, or there was a quote that they didn't really know what to do with PC music and what its motivations were. So it was kind of like they didn't want to get got by the label and be like, oh, you enjoyed this like weird take on pop music. However, looking back, this is seen as revolutionary, both in Charli's discography and in the broader movement and genre of hyperpop. The vocal production on here is done by Martin Stilling and Patrick Berger. It's mixed by Jody Harsh, Rob Orton, and Sophie, and it's mastered by Stuart Hawkes, who was actually a connection. He also mastered Sad Night Dynamite's mixtape that we did.
Oh, that's a very fun connection.
I did not know that. That's why I love doing these kind of more technical connections. And now I have to tell you, your favorite song. I said it might be Paradise, but even then I'm not sure, because I don't really see you liking any of the songs on the EP. And I think that you will rate the EP a 2.5. Now that you've said it,
really?
I might move it up to a 3. But I was kind of thinking this is weird and it might not be something that you totally enjoy. So
we'll see.
And now it's time for track 1, the title track, Vroom Vroom. Written by Charli XCX, Minder. I don't know how you say her name. My apologies. MNDR. Noonie Bao, who is a connection to Troye Sivan, shout out, and Sophie, and it's produced by Sophie. Bitches know they cannot catch me. I think this song has the best production on the EP, and it's the most memorable song, which means that it is my favorite. And now here's where it gets interesting. I rated this a 3.5.
Oh.
And this is my favorite on here. We will be talking about this kind of at the end of the EP. Did you like this song? What did you think?
So the first time I heard this song, I was like, oh, this has a lot of elements that I don't like. And that definitely continued. The thing is, there are also a lot of elements that I can see in other songs from Charli XCX that I do really like. And that's kind of something that stayed with me throughout the whole experience, where every song had a lot of elements that I really liked and moments that I absolutely loved, even though they were often like mixed with parts that I didn't really like. When I first heard the song, I gave it a 3 because of that. That being said, it stuck in my brain and I kept on coming back. I've listened to this quite a few times, and the first time I heard that, I would not think that I would have listened to it multiple times, honestly. And it made it very hard for me to rate it, because based on like how many times I went back, theoretically I was like, that should be a 4, but it still has a lot of elements that I don't like that much, even though the rest really worked for me and is honestly makes it a very enjoyable song. So ultimately, ironically, this is a 3.5 too. It's such an interesting song. The fluctuations in it are very interesting. And I feel like that is very prescient throughout the whole EP.
Yeah, there are a lot of juxtapositions on this EP between the harsh, like, electronic noises and then the, like, nice pop little moment, you know?
Yeah.
Where I think it's called a pre-chorus throughout the whole album. It feels more like a chorus because of the, like, insane switch up in all of the songs, where it's just like, oh, there's melody now. And it's produced like a pop song. So, yeah, very interesting. This is not your favorite, though, at a 3.5?
Honestly, I did not choose a favorite.
Oh, okay. Cool. So I was kind of right.
It's at the same rating with some other songs. That being said, I have come back to this song the most, so it would probably be my favorite. I don't know, though, to be honest.
I will say something about this specific EP, Vroom Vroom. I feel like the songs blend together a little bit more.
A little bit, yeah. I agree with that.
But we got track number 2, Paradise, featuring Hannah Diamond. Written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, Martin Stilling, Noonie Bao, and Sophie, and produced by Sophie. I said that this song is fine, but it really doesn't do much for me. It has grown on me since the first time I listened to the EP. I initially rated it a 2.5. Now I rated it a 3. This is my least favorite on here. And this is the score that I'm going to give 2 more times on here, just to ruin it, to spoil the surprise.
Let me just throw this out there. First time I heard all the songs on this album or this EP, they were all 3s. Those have changed around because I listened to this EP twice. Because I kind of felt like I don't know what I really feel about these songs. And I think a large part of that is because of the fact that they all have elements that I like and don't like. First thing that I'm going to say is, for a second, the vocals sounded like Annoying Orange to me. They just reminded me of that. But then as like the song continues, it's like, oh wait, it does not sound like that actually. It just reminded me of it. I'm not calling the vocalists Annoying Orange people. I'm not doing that. Don't come after me. The opening build in the song is, I think, the best part of the song. Of course, then it kind of goes into the more hyper pop stuff, which doesn't really work for me. But this is like the same exact scenario where I really like parts of the song, but then other parts just don't work for me. And I feel like typically that would make this a 3. But again, I feel like it's still very catchy, and Charli XCX's like talent still shines through. Like it still gets me, even though I have a lot of issues with it, which just bumps it up to a 3.5. It's really weird. I feel like from another artist, similar songs would be a lot lower, but I guess it's just something about the way she does it does make it work a lot more for me. And the fact that it is in that first wave that I maybe tolerate better. Weirdly enough, this is a 3.5 for me.
I was thinking that you might not like it because of some of the vocal effects on here, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, it is more melodic than the other three songs on here.
Yes.
So I think that you would connect with that more. Weirdly, despite it being the most melodic on here, and that's kind of the thing that I like the most, I didn't really connect with it compared to the other three songs.
That's the thing. I could see these songs fluctuating in score
Very much.
from time to time. I could see these going down to 3. I could see one of these going to 2.5, going up to 3.5. So it's kind of a weird area.
Track number 3, Trophy, written by Charli XCX, Minder, Noonie Bao, Patrick Berger, and Sophie. Produced by Sophie, with additional production by Hal Ritson and Richard Fiasco Adlam. It samples Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. And I said, I think it's fun when Charli raps. My main complaint, which I guess I'll talk about in comparison with Number One Angel when we get there, is this EP as a whole, there are not a lot of melodies in general. It's very mechanical, it's very drum forward, and it's cool sometimes, but ultimately I don't find it as enjoyable as I do with the more melodic stuff in Charli's discography. And when comparing it to Number One Angel, I do prefer that over this EP. I rated this song a 3. I also feel weird because I feel like this could be a 3.5, but it could also be a 2.5 depending on what I'm feeling in that moment. And I like these in sometimes, but when I first heard this EP again, like when I was listening to it for this past week, I was kind of like, I don't really like this that much. And then I kept listening to it. I was probably on listen number 5 and I was like, it's okay. It's starting to grow on me, but I do wonder if some of that is like, well, it's Charli XCX, I like her. She's one of my favorite artists ever.
I think it's also like once you get used to the craziness a little bit, you can hear more of the music itself in a way. So then maybe you start liking it more. I feel like that's kind of what happened to me.
I see that for sure. And I feel like sound design is just hard for me to get into. This is like very sound design forward. It's not as musical, I guess, as melodic.
Which I think is why I have such a big problem with hyperpop in the second phase, especially.
It's more musical, though.
To me, for some reason, it feels even like less musical than this.
I mean, it's abrasive.
Maybe that's just me.
Which
I think that's what it is.
That's probably what it is.
I think this is
your
just
ears
less
aren't used to
abrasive,
hearing just like blown out speakers yet.
I have lily white ears that haven't been roughed up enough.
What did you give this song?
I gave this a 3. The same thing that I experienced with the last 2 songs is here, where parts of it work better than other parts. I feel like this song, though, it did kind of stay at where it is. I honestly feel like in future listens, it could like fluctuate down to 2.5. Like it would go back between a 2.5 and a 3. It's okay. It's a 3. I don't really have much to add about this song, aside from the fact that I can see why this was so divisive.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like early 2010s.
Yeah, 2016. I mean, we're in like mid to late at this point.
No,
and
that's a good point.
Yeah,
for some reason I thought it came out earlier.
No, like this is it does seem like it would be almost like a 2013 or 14 release, but 2016 it's like we're getting more into like electronic music was like acceptable, but this was still too far for people. And like looking back at some of the like things that people were writing about it during the time, I was like, wow, if only you knew how crazy music was about to get in the next like 5 years,
They had no idea.
We have one final track on this EP, and that is number 4, Secret. Shh. Written by Harlow, Jesse St. John, Jody Harsh, and Sophie. You may notice Charli XCX is not a writer on this song.
That's interesting.
Produced by Sophie and Jody Harsh. I said that the pre-chorus is quite nice on here, but I'd still rather listen to a lot of other Charli tracks before this one. But it is growing on me, and I could see myself giving it a 3.5 someday. Unfortunately, it's still not as memorable as many of the songs that we'll talk about in a few moments. This one is a 3, but I don't know, this is another one that could fluctuate. And it kind of did, like throughout. I debated giving it a 3.5 multiple times.
This also fluctuated for me. In some ways, it kind of feels a little bit more pop forward to me.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a reason why it did eventually fluctuate to what it has now. I will say, I do really love the chorus and the pre-chorus in the song.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the best part. I think the rest of it, though, is not nearly to the same level.
I find it so interesting. This song and another song by Charli XCX, Fembot, off of Pop 2, both are not written by her, and they both feel extremely like Charli XCX coded songs, like something that she would have written. So it's kind of cool when it's like not her, but it still very much is her, you know?
I mean, ultimately, because of the choruses 3.5, again, I could see this fluctuate though. All of these songs could fluctuate.
Yeah.
It's really hard to like discuss these, honestly.
It is. And it weirdly has not gotten easier as I've gotten more of an education into like this era of music. And as we've kind of moved further away from it, it still is very much like, I don't really know what to do with this fully.
Right.
So,
well, I will also say that it's interesting that even though you are a fan of hyperpop, you feel this way about this still.
Yeah, I feel more like you with 100 gecs about this.
Right.
You know,
which is interesting to me.
Than myself, I guess. I can see why this is divisive. I mean, in my like summary of the EP, like I'm glad this exists and it was like a turning point in everything that she made and like what she was allowed to do. But, you know, there's a reason that I listened to it in full one time in 2017 and then I just never did again until this podcast. Like,
right.
It's just kind of, it's there. It's fine. I feel like it's just not super interesting. And if I want songs in these like styles or sounds from her, I'm just going to listen to other songs that she's done that are better than these, you know?
Literally, when I was listening to this, I kept on wanting to just go and listen to Brat instead. So,
I mean, for me, I was like, wow, I can't wait until we listen to Number One Angel right after this, you know, like,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, and this is kind of like the part where I'm going to piss off fans of hyperpop. And like, I'm sorry, I've never really gotten into Sophie's music or her production style. She's obviously like hugely influential and probably one of the best sound designers of the 21st century. But I find the sparsity of her production style to be kind of boring, which is on this EP. It's like, it's not melodic. That's kind of what I was saying.
Right.
There are not a lot of melodies in general. And that's kind of a big reason why it never stuck with me. I feel like I don't latch onto sounds as much as I do sequences of sounds that form a melody or chords or whatever. And for that reason, I'm giving this EP a 3 overall. If this was made by any other artist on PC Music, it probably would have been a 2.5. But I do think Charli does bring that, like, you know, her style, her kind of sass to it. That's very unique and quite fun.
The XCX factor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like what you did there. Unfortunately, this is not one that I will probably be returning to much at all. Maybe I'll listen to Secret a little bit more, but I don't know. It's fine. It's a 3.
I am still struggling with the score.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, the average would be a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
But again, all those scores can fluctuate. They all started off as 3s. They could go back down to 3s. I feel like every single time that I listen to this or to any of these songs, the score is going to be different than the last time. So it's very hard for me to discuss it. Ultimately, I think I am going to give it a 3 just because, like I said, in each song there are elements that I like, and there is the XCX factor, which obviously really works for me because I'm a fan. But there's also a lot that does not work for me. And because of that, I feel like I can't like fully enjoy any of these songs, even if I give them a 3.5. So because of that, I am giving this a 3.
I feel like that's fair, and we're in agreement.
I'm surprised by how in agreement we are.
I'm not. I'm a little surprised that you rated this as high as you did, because I was expecting, like I said, a 2.5. But
yeah, no, I'm honestly surprised too, because when I first started listening to Vroom Vroom, I was like, oh, I don't think this is gonna be for me. I will say, ironically, the song that I probably will return to the most, if I do return, is Vroom Vroom, but that's just because it really sticks in your brain.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, especially that's like the opening. It stays there.
Let's ride.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I want to listen to it again.
I agree. I mean, that's the one that I go back to on here. Like, if I'm doing Charli's greatest hits, it's like, well, you have to do Vroom Vroom. That's like, it's a moment, you know?
Yeah, literally.
May not be her best song, but it's fun. And now, this is Number One Angel, the third mixtape and first commercial mixtape by Charli XCX. It was released March 10th, 2017 by Asylum and Atlantic Records UK. I got some more background for you. I got a story. I'm doing like a narrative this week because
You are.
I really, I love Charli XCX, and this is a time that I find very fascinating, and it's also drama that I find very fascinating. So after Vroom Vroom was released February of 2016, it was time to move on to Charli's long-awaited third album, and Atlantic reluctantly let her release the lead single, After the After Party, featuring Lil Yachty on October 28th, 2016. Pretty late, along with the announcement that the album was dropping in May of 2017. And I say reluctantly, because I remember it coming out and Atlantic doing essentially nothing to market it or push it to radio, which was still important for chart position at this time. I mean, it still kind of is in the present day too. In January of 2017, she performed After the After Party and an unreleased song, Bounce. That was the next single from the still untitled album. And this performance of Bounce, which is in the vein of the songs Vroom Vroom and Trophy, featured A.G. Cook passed out as Charli danced around him in a carpeted room. It was not well received, and weeks were going by without a release for the song. Whether it was the delay of Bounce's release or some other behind-the-scenes drama with Atlantic, Charli decided to drop a mixtape to build excitement for this album, and that is Number One Angel. I'm still not exactly sure how this was allowed to come out, unless Atlantic hated her third album so much that they surrendered and pretty much said, do whatever you want, and just like, we don't want to release this, do something else. Now, the album was still supposed to come out in May, 2 months after this mixtape came out, but there was still no word from Charli or Atlantic until May, when she said in an interview that the album was coming out sometime in the spring of 2018. The single Boys, which was not written by her, was released in July of 2017 and was kind of a reintroduction into that album, which was supposed to be half pop music and half experimental electronic music. This song was reportedly Atlantic's choice for the album because they wanted a more accessible sound for the fans. And this is kind of when all hell broke loose, because Charli XCX's Google Drive and mix engineer Mark Spike Stent were hacked, and most of the songs for this untitled third album were leaked. I don't want to speculate why this happened. It may be, but I'm not going to say anything. And this was essentially the death of her third album, which had been retroactively titled XCX World by fans. And I felt that this was important to the context of Number One Angel because it was such a tumultuous time in her career. With every release, it seemed like you could tell if it was her idea to put it out or if it was Atlantic's idea. It was just like a disaster all around. But we ended up getting Number One Angel and the second mixtape, Pop 2, both in 2017 in the middle of this. So I think it's kind of worth it, I would say. But it's a confusing era. And I thought it was important to know where Number One Angel kind of sits in her discography and how and why it's not technically an album and instead is a mixtape. Now, she has reflected on this time and said she hated it, which makes sense, because it sucks when your label kind of hates you and is not letting you do the things you want to do. And then also having her album leaked. I think it was 9 out of the 12 tracks were leaked in full, like high quality, mixed and mastered, which sucked. And it was supposed to be a 12-song album. There's kind of thoughts about what those other songs are going to be. I assume they were Bounce, After the After Party, and Boys. And Bounce just never came out. They just scrapped it entirely because of that performance. It's weird, but I kind of like it better than anything on Vroom Vroom. It's in that vein, but it's a very strange song. That whole era is very weird. You can find the leaks on YouTube. Some of the songs are very good, and some of the songs are all right, but most of them have that sound of like kind of Vroom Vroom plus something a little bit more, and it feels like it would have been a very nice continuation of what she was going for there. But now I wanted to ask you, before listening to either, did you have any different expectations going into this mixtape versus Vroom Vroom?
I knew that in some ways this mixtape was kind of like a reaction to, her battles with Atlantic Records. I wasn't sure what that would result in, I guess. I wasn't sure exactly like who ended up having more say over this. So I wasn't sure if it would be closer to what I thought it would be or maybe like what the Atlantic Records would be trying to push. Yeah, I knew it would probably be quite different to Vroom Vroom, though. That's all I could kind of guess at.
I also wanted to ask you, after listening to Vroom Vroom and before you started this, did you think that you would like one more than the other?
I was guessing that I probably would like Number One Angel more That was my guess, honestly. Yeah.
This is an electropop album. Charli said it's a lot more sad than her previous work, which I do think is kind of funny because it's not very sad in general.
Yeah.
But her quote is, "This is more like crying into the champagne rather than drinking it," which I think I can see that on some of the songs. White Roses, Blame It On You. I feel like those are a little bit more crying into the champagne than partying, but there are definitely some party songs on here for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, critics enjoyed this mixtape a lot more than Vroom Vroom. It ended up getting a 73 out of 100 on Metacritic. It was well liked by audiences that heard it, but it ended up only charting at 175 on the Billboard 200, and it did not chart in the UK, her home country. Also, notably, Atlantic Records UK she was signed to. Her label was based in the UK. Now she's signed to Atlantic Records in the US, which is like the bigger version of the label. So I find it fascinating that they didn't try to push it in the UK like at all. Like I said, this came out in the spring of 2017, and this is around the time that I was becoming conscious to what music I liked and kind of just pop culture around music in general. I started listening to New Music Fridays every week and really trying to understand how the Spotify algorithm worked and how I could copy it to find music before it was popular. And I also remember listening to this mixtape for the first time and thinking, I want to make a song that sounds like it could be on here, which I ended up doing. And I believe that this is the first time I heard a song and I was like, I'm going to make something that sounds like that instead of just trying to remake it entirely. So not only was it influential to my music taste, it was also influential to how I write and produce music. So this is kind of like, a turning point in the ethos of myself. The mixtape is executive produced by A.G. Cook. It's engineered by Alex Williams, Cameron Goer-Poole, Rob Cohen, and Ryan Gilligan. Mixed by Jeff Swan and mastered by Stuart Hawkes. And now I got to tell you, your favorite song on here will be Emotional, and your least favorite will either be Dreamer or Lip Gloss, first or last song. I wrote originally that you will rate this a 3, and now after you rated Vroom Vroom a 3, I'm thinking that I'm going to kick this up to a 3.5.
I like your thinking.
Well, let's kick it off. Track number 1, Dreamer, compound version, performed with Starra and Ray, written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, Ray, and Starra, produced by A.G. Cook. XCX, holy shit, we are so back, I wrote. I'm a dreamer, step out the beamer. I know you liked that because of the BMW. That was the first note I wrote in general for this album. When I was listening to Vroom Vroom and Number One Angel the first time, I was like, oh my God, I got to mention that BMW. Shout out.
Hell yeah.
I feel like this has one of the best choruses on the mixtape. And I have a quote here from A.G. Cook. This wasn't the first track that Charli and I worked on for Number One Angel, but it was the first one that got us excited enough to really consider doing an entire mixtape. The instrumental was an old one that I made sometime in 2016, and it was always called Dreamer, and it had a twin called Screamer. One was harsh and the other was dreamy. And so Charli just rolled with the title and turned it into a whole song. The top line that Charli came up with is a perfect example of what she's so great at. It feels super casual and effortless, but it's filled with all these nuances and angles that make it catchy. I do not know when, but sometime years after its release, the title was changed from Dreamer to Dreamer Compound Version, and I do not know why.
Yeah, I saw
Nothing
that,
about the song
and I was
changed.
Confused.
Starra is a legend in hip hop. I looked back. I thought we had done a song that she wrote, but I guess we never have. She usually writes hooks and choruses for hip hop music. Pretty much the 2010s, if it was like a big pop rap song, she wrote the chorus for it. She's incredible. And then Ray is a legend in pop and dance music and is kind of having her moment right now with Where Is My Husband? She also had her moment a few years ago with Escapism, which is a great song. And both of them have really great verses on this song. And I like when they get a little bit rap with it, There's a little bit more hip hop influence in here. I love a good outro, and AG absolutely delivers. Something I love in pop music is when the first chorus hits and it's like, wow, that's really good. And then the second chorus hits and you get a few more elements in there that makes it more interesting. And the third chorus goes absolutely insane. A build by section in a song, I feel like is such a Max Martin thing to do. Not just like a constant build throughout the song, but in each section you add in one more element until you get to this big moment at the end. And I feel like AG does it so well because he knows pop music and has studied it. Obviously, we talked about that with PC music, where it's like, what if we make pop music and like more commercial pop music? I don't mean this to shit on Vroom Vroom as an EP, but when this song started, I was kind of like, wow, this is just on a whole different level. It's so melodic, and it's honestly kind of simple, but it's stripped back to what is absolutely necessary to make it a pop song. I love it, and this has always been in the upper echelon of the mixtape for me. I rated this song a 4.
It's really interesting going from Vroom Vroom into this because they are very, very different. This is so much more melodic, and it was in some ways different from what I expected. Ironically, you were kind of right with what you thought this film would be to me, because, or this song would be to me, because it is super different from Vroom Vroom, but it also in some ways didn't really work that well for me.
I figured. It's got hip hop in it.
Yeah, but I think it also, A, isn't what I expected from Charli XCX, and also B, isn't in what I would consider my favorite style when it comes to her work. I will say also the vocals didn't work that well for me. It is a 3. I will say, though, that's the lowest I go.
Is this your least favorite?
So I did not specifically choose a least favorite, and it is a little hard because there are several with this score here. I'm going to say that this was not my least favorite. I think I'm going to save it for another song because I feel like there's another song that honestly deserves it more.
Lip gloss.
So I'm going to hold off. Yeah, we will get there.
Track number 2, 3 a.m. Pull Up, featuring Mo. Written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, Finn Keen, and Mo. Produced by EasyFX, which is the duo of A.G. Cook and Finn Keen. This was the first song that I had heard from the mixtape, and I feel like it is such a great example of the late 2010s electropop style that I really genuinely do love, and we kind of moved on too quickly from. Charli XCX wrote the chorus for Beg For It for Iggy Azalea, which was Mo's big break, and she also co-wrote her song Drum. And Mo is also featured on the song Porsche on Pop 2, which also came out in 2017. So they've collaborated together quite a few times. Mo is from Denmark. Shout out Denmark.
Hell yeah, shout out Denmark.
I think that this is the most pop sounding song on the mixtape, and it's super catchy. It's just a fun time. People still write fuck you songs for their exes, but now they don't get this level of production or melody, which is why Charli is the GOAT. This song is a 4.
This song is definitely closer to what I expected. I did want to say it's interesting to me that this mixtape features a lot of other artists.
And this is nothing compared to Pop 2, because I'm pretty sure only 2 songs on Pop 2 don't have features. One song has 4 other artists on it.
Right.
And
that's crazy.
But it works so well.
I do think that it does also work here for sure. I just thought it was interesting. So as I said before, this is closer to what I expected, and it does work a lot better. I feel like this is like to a level now where it's already engaging me the way that I want it to engage me versus a lot of the songs on Vroom Vroom. It's firmly at a 3.5, and it's at a 3.5 where it's not going to shift down at all.
Track number 3, Blame It On You. Written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, and Noonie Bao. Produced by A.G. Cook. This is XCX number 2. Yes, I counted them.
I like that.
The pre-chorus on this song goes crazy, and so does the second half of the song, Let A.G. Cook. Once again, I love when she gets kind of a rap cadence in her songs. Plus, I just love electropop in general, so this has always been one of my favorites. This is a 4.5. I love this song.
Well, first of all, let me say, it feels very, very 2010s to me.
That's what I like.
Very 2010s, which makes sense. I will say, the first part of the song feels weaker to me, because in some ways it feels quite repetitive. And ironically, I feel like with Vroom Vroom and with this, there is a slight feeling that it's like Charli learning, in a ways, how to get these sounds.
I agree with that when you compare Number One Angel to Pop 2 specifically, and when you compare Vroom Vroom to, I would say, How I'm Feeling Now is kind of the best comparison there, where it's like she just got so much better, which is like so cool.
And I think that's a big part of my experience listening to these. I will say, when the club beats drop in to this song, that's when it's like, oh yeah, I'm here for this. I'm seated, as someone from the movie that we're going to talk about wrote. The second half is really strong for me, and I really enjoy it. I put it at a 3 just because I feel like the first part really does not work for me, but it's a very high 3, and I could see this song becoming a 3.5 on the strength of the of the second half, because that part is just so much fun. I will say the fact that I've heard something like Brat and some of her other later songs has maybe negatively affected my experience with this. I wish I could have like scraped my brain. I will say we are about to hit a pretty nice little run.
I did also want to say about her getting better. I do think A.G. Cook has also gotten better, because I think the level up in production that he's done on each of her albums is just crazy. Like, this is kind of like, oh wow, he's good. And then it's like, holy shit, this is like transcendent on some of her other songs, where it's like he's just like at a crazy high level. And I do want to say, I know why you don't like the first half of this song. Do you know why you don't like the first half of this song? And why I thought you would not like this album that much?
I'm not sure.
Trap drums.
Oh, it's back. God damn it.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. Yeah, I've noticed that, and I figured that you wouldn't like this album or Vroom Vroom as much as Brat, because it's much more rooted in hip hop, as a lot of pop music was in the late 2010s.
That's a good point.
But now we got track number 4, Roll With Me, written by Charli XCX, Klaus Holland, I don't know if that's how you say it, Noonie Bao, and Sophie, produced by Sophie. Do you want to roll with me? Genius says that that's about drugs, but I always assumed it was about cars. Either way, it makes sense, because those are like the two things that she talks about. So shout out. This song is like a better vibe of the Vroom Vroom EP. It's more melodic. It's more catchy. It's just turned up to 11, and I love it so much more. It is, however, a 3.5, because I don't think it's on the level of the 3 songs that precede it, or some of the songs that will be following it.
When it comes to this song, I honestly don't have that much to add, aside from the fact that I do really like the production. This is a 3.5. I'm in agreement. And now roll with me to the next song.
Emotional, track number 5. Written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, Finn Keen, Frederick Berger, Martin Stilling, and Patrick Berger. It was produced by EasyFX with vocal production by Patrick Berger. I said it's so crazy that she stopped herself from cheating in this song. If you don't know, that is also another theme of her music, that she cheats on people, which, you know,
yeah,
I don't know. No comment. I have always appreciated this song, but goddamn, it is actually so good. She is one of the few artists I feel like really understands how to make a pop ballad. A.G. Cook said about this song, "This is another one that I worked on with Finn, but the process was completely different to 3 a.m. Pull Up. Emotional was originally a demo that Charli wrote with Patrick Berger, someone that she's written with a lot, which explains why the song has that slightly old school Charli atmosphere. Basically, they had a bunch of extra songs that Charli wanted to give to other people to finish, and she quite casually sent this one over for us to look at. And now I gotta tell you, this and the next song tend to switch their scores back and forth depending on what I'm feeling like. I love both of them a lot. As of right now, I love You Too more. So this song gets a 4, but it definitely is a 4.5 sometimes, some of the times that I listen to it. So throwing that out there, it is currently a 4. It will become a 4.5 at some point, and then it'll go back to a 4, and it'll just keep switching, because this one and I Love You Too are kind of twin songs in my mind, which I will talk about in just a moment. But I want to actually make a prediction real quick before you start talking. Wait, I already made this prediction. I said this would be your favorite song.
Oh.
And I'm going to stick with that. As I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, this is totally your favorite song. And it turns out I already said it was. So sticking to that.
Well, when I was listening to this, a thought struck me. And that is, I feel like not only has her like producerial skill deepened with time, I feel like her vocal quality has also changed a little bit with time.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if that's maybe just like the change in style, or maybe experience.
Cocaine.
Or cocaine.
I mean, that's what people always say. I think it was
point.
Azalea Banks that said that she's ruining her life by doing coke, which who knows how much she actually does. But then I also think part of it, like you said about producers, is they probably just have a new vocal chain for her as well. Like,
true.
I think just like figuring out how to sing and how to tell other people how you sing is also a big thing. And just the more you make music, the better you get usually at making your voice sound good, if your voice doesn't give out first.
Let me just say, Charli, please stop doing coke, because we want you to stick around for a while, please.
They did coke in the 80s all the time, and they lived to be, well, they're dying off now, I guess. So,
I mean, you do have the 27 club.
True.
So,
That's a good point.
and I will say they're alive now, but they also look like they're kept together by like gum or something. So
That is another good point.
but to go back to the song, I really enjoy the chorus of this song. There was one big issue with it though, and that is I kind of feel like the production doesn't fully match the melody. They feel a little bit disjointed to me. It still works overall, but this is actually not my favorite song. This is still a 3.5. And I will say my favorite song does go higher than this.
Good.
So yeah, it's interesting because this ties into my note for I Love You Too.
Track number 6, ILY2, or I Love You Too, written by Charli XCX and Danny L. Harl, produced by Danny L. Harl. Usually, I hate when back-to-back songs are in the same key, but it works so well here because it feels like they're opposites, yet they're twins. Also, guitar solo on here. Crazy.
Not expecting that.
Danny L. Harl is super hit or miss for me with his production, but this one hits so hard. He has made some of my least favorite hyperpop songs ever, and he's also made some of my favorites. So you never know what you're going to get, but I'm so glad that this one worked for me because I love a Charli love song, and I think that this should have been on the radio. This is a 4.5. I love this song. It's not my favorite, though. That's still coming up.
So, like I said, my note for this ties back to emotional, and that is I feel like obviously they are very similar, but for I Love You Too, I feel like the melody and the production actually fit together more. It feels more cohesive to me, ironically. And that kind of puts it into a very high 3.5. I could see this going up to a 4. It's still not my favorite, though. There is one song that kind of stands head over heels. That's not the right term. Head
and shoulders.
Head and shoulders, thank you.
Yes, above, yes.
Over the other songs.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second, that does not sound right.
Well, maybe it's track number 7, White Roses, written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, and Noonie Bao, and produced by A.G. Cook. XCX number 3. A.G. Cook said about this song, "This is the final song that was made from start to finish in that week in January, though we did work on a bunch of other bits and pieces there. Charli sometimes says that this is her favorite song on the mixtape. I don't really have a favorite, as it's all a bit blended together for me, but I do think this song is special. We were actually working on something else in the studio, but then Charli and Noonie got bored and just asked me to make something new. I'm always really happy to quickly make something on the spot, but I don't play keyboard parts in or anything like that. I simply click one note in at a time, so it was pretty funny to be booming that out in front of a small studio audience. Let me just tell you, that gives me a newfound respect for A.G. Cook. Maybe he plays keyboard now, but I was like, holy shit, designing that by putting it in on your computer keyboard is absolutely insane. I could never do that. I don't have the patience for that. I need to play it.
Yeah, no.
This is my absolute favorite chorus on the mixtape and has incredible understated production from AG. Everyone likes to say Taylor Swift is one of the only pop writers who can still make a bridge, but I feel like Charli's bridges are super underrated throughout her career, and this is an example of a great one. And that final chorus, oh my God, talk about a build. This is a 4.5. This is my favorite song on here.
Whoa. Ironically, we are kind of at a disagreement. Kind of.
I figured.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you the 2 words? Why?
Yes.
Trap drums.
That's part of it for sure. Now that I know. Also, I will say a lot of the slower songs kind of don't speak to me as much. They feel less like...
That's very interesting.
I know. I think it's because when I think of Charli XCX, I think of like slightly crazier songs, which is maybe my favorite from her. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't know.
We got to introduce you to the more emotional side of Charli XCX because I think those are some of her best songs. My 2 favorite songs by her are her like super emotional songs that are just like so, they're longing, they're sweet, they're sad.
Maybe I just got to get used to it. That might be it.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see in the future, but I feel like the trap drums are definitely going to turn you off anytime
I think
they're
that's
around.
The biggest thing. I will say it also does feel a little bit screamy to me, which I'm never a big fan of.
Interesting.
But that could also just be me. It's a 3. Again, 3 is the lowest I go, which I think speaks to like how good it is regardless. So, yeah.
I have a new prediction for your favorite song, and it's track number 8, Baby Girl, featuring Uffy. Written by Charli XCX, John Hill, Mander, Peter Wade, Sarah Hudson, who's a connection to 143 by Katy Perry, and Uffy. and it's produced by John Hill, and it samples Hold On to Love by Al Eto. I don't know if that's how you say it, but shout out. It's
Never heard of it.
an older song. Baby Girl, track number 8, and Drugs, track number 9, are similar in my mind because they're both good and fun, but they're not on the same level as the rest of the mixtape in my mind. However, upon re-listening, I was pleasantly surprised by how good this song is. And then Uffy's verse started, and I was reminded of why I don't like this song very much compared to the others on the album. I do, however, like the 80s vibes on here, and surprisingly, it does fit in pretty well with the rest of the mixtape, which I didn't remember it like working that well. This one is a 3.5. It's good, but it's not as good, in my opinion. But I do think you're going to like it now that you said your favorite song is coming up, you know?
This is a 4. This is my favorite song.
Nice.
As I said before, I could see a couple other songs going up to 4, but I still think that this will be my favorite song. It definitely feels very 90s diva to me. Like, that's immediately the vibe I got, which I think is because it samples an older song. And in some ways, I feel like the style feels older. And ironically, this is definitely not the style I think of when I think of Charli XCX, and yet this song is my favorite song. I think the production and her vocals in this specific song just really work for me. But I was kind of surprised that this one was my favorite.
Track number 9, Drugs, featuring Abra. Written by A.G. Cook, Abra, and Charli XCX, and produced by A.G. Cook. This is XCX number 4 and number 5. I said that this song is all right, but it's probably the least memorable chorus, but the outro is quite fun, and I didn't remember it being that fun. This one is a 3.5. This is my least favorite. So this is reverse track 9 theory. Oh. Baby Girl and Drugs were just the two that I'd be like, okay, I want to get to Lip Gloss now. Like after White Roses, right, which is my favorite, I was kind of like, okay, I want to also hear Lip Gloss now, and just kind of go on past these. This one isn't as bad as I remember it being, but it's still not like, I'm not going to return to it as much as others, but I still would rank this lowest song higher than at least 3 songs on Vroom Vroom. Vroom Vroom, the song, is kind of on the same level as this to me. This
song does not really connect to me that much.
Yeah, you got trap drums and you got a rap verse in it. It
did not really work. I think the production is interesting, but I think the trap drums definitely make it not work that very well for me. It's a 3. Not to spoil it, this is not my favorite, or not my least favorite song.
Let's go. I knew it.
Let's go. You got that one right.
Hell yeah.
I think you knew why.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got track number 10, Lip Gloss, featuring Cupcake, written by A.G. Cook, Charli XCX, and Cupcake, produced by A.G. Cook, Sophie, and Life Sim, which is speculated to be another name for A.G. Cook. Back in the hyperpop days, back in the PC music days, they used to make up these like fake artists that were also them to make it seem like the label was bigger, but also to play into that like commercialized idea of like, we just have so many people doing the same thing, but slightly different, which I think is kind of fun. I used to do that around this time, ironically, but I was unaware that it was happening in real life in a genre of music I would come to love and appreciate. Now I got to tell you, this is XCX number 6 and number 7. We finished with 7 on here, which is pretty good. Now, David, I have to disagree with everything that you're going to say after me, because I think this has crazy good production. It's a fun layered chorus and 2 of the tamest verses in Cupcake's entire career. What a banger. Genuinely, her music, if you've never heard it, she is one of the most sexually explicit and vulgar rappers I have ever heard. And It's pretty incredible because she's genuinely a great lyricist. She's also from Chicago, so shout out. The transition from the sweet and poppy chorus to Cupcake's verses is one of the best moments on the album. They've collaborated 3 times, and each one is so good in its own way. And I really hope they work together in the future, because hearing Cupcake over these insane A.G. Cook beats is always super fun. Bring 100 girls to the room. Bring 100 girls to the room. I have to say that. It's repeated like 50 times towards the end of the song. The last chorus, with I believe 5 layers of vocals happening at the same time, is so much fun. And you get a classic A.G. Cook outro that ends with the lyric, "It's Charli, baby," which is just wonderful. This is obviously a 4.5. This is my second favorite song on the mixtape. When I first heard it, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And the more I've heard it, the more I've been like, this is like genuinely iconic, and it's insane that it exists. I'm so glad it does. This is one of the songs that I always remember from this mixtape. Wow, what a way to end the album as well. It's Charli, baby.
Okay, let me first say,
how bad did it catch you off guard?
It caught me so off guard. Let me just say that. The popular elements do work better for me, even though I do feel like it is, again, kind of closer to hyperpop.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Obviously, the rap just does not really work for me. I feel like I have come around a lot to like pop songs with rap in it, but this is just so explicit that it immediately takes me out of it. And there are 2 verses.
Yeah, and they're both amazing.
I was not expecting either, so I got surprised twice.
Was the second one even crazier than the first? Like when it hit?
Yes.
That moment to me is maybe the best on the album, where it's like she's just so happy and so like, I don't know, it's like flirty, and then it's just like, Cupcake's just like more flavor than Flava Flav.
I was not expecting
insane.
It. I was
so good.
This was like a roller coaster for me. Also, I do think this song goes on for too long, in my opinion.
Damn.
It's a 3. It's a very low 3. It is close to 2.5.
You can make it to 2.5.
But it's not though for me.
Okay.
Because like I feel like the popular elements save it a little for me.
One day this is going to be a 5 out of 5 for you. I'm going to teach you to love rap music, and you're going to and you're going to be like, wow, Cupcake is genuinely actually really good. It is crazy. That's what makes it so fun. This is hyperpop, you know? It's insane, and it is kind of like 2 things that really shouldn't go together at all. And they do, in my opinion. Obviously, in your opinion, they do not go together.
Yes, in my opinion, they just do not. But that's just me. That is just me.
XCX. We've reached the end of the mixtape. And I got to tell you, I think that this is a very good mixtape. And this is where I tell people to start if they want to see the foundation of Charli's style, because I think it's more consistent and more interesting than Vroom Vroom.
I do agree with that.
Obviously, this holds a special place in my heart because of my relationship with it, but I do think it holds up to this day in some ways. However, it has always been overshadowed by her second mixtape from 2017, Pop 2, both by myself and by critics and like general audiences. This mixtape, however, introduced Charli as an artist that I should be paying attention to, and Pop 2 made me a fan for years to come. So I rate this mixtape a 4 out of 5. I love it. What are your thoughts? And do you think that this is a better place to start than Vroom Vroom, I guess, right off the bat?
I do think that it is a better place to start. It's also much more consistent.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like a foundation to what she would go on to do. It's a 3.5 for me.
Hell yeah.
I think in a lot of ways it is quite strong. I definitely have my issues with it, i.e. the trap drums, but...
and Cupcake.
Yeah, and Cupcake. But I can definitely see how this is the jumping off point for Charli. And I am very excited to listen to Pop 2 at some point. I do want to listen to that.
I believe before recording this, I told David that Pop 2 is in my top 4 albums of all time. It is genuinely incredible.
Right.
And I can't wait to do it. But I have to ask you 2 more questions before we move on to the movie. One of them is, will you add any of these songs to playlists? And will you return to this album as a whole?
I feel like I will add Baby Girl to some playlist at some point. I just need to figure out which one at this point. And I will probably come back to listen to that song. That and Vroom Vroom, ironically, are the 2 that I will probably return to.
Interesting.
But I will say I am interested to come back to I Love You Too, for instance, and Roll With Me and some of the other songs that I rated highly, because I do want to see if they will go up. So I do want to do that at some point.
And my final question for you, does this mixtape change how you view Charli XCX? And would you still consider yourself a fan? Because I know you said you were a fan of her before.
I am still a fan.
Okay,
I
good.
base my fanhoodedness, if that's the phrase, fandom on Brat mainly, because that's what I mainly know.
Well, we are expanding your taste and your knowledge slowly, album by album, EP by mixtape.
Exactly.
And I hope you enjoyed this, because I very much enjoyed this. Obviously, you can tell I love talking about Charli XCX. She's one of my favorite artists ever, probably. I mean, she's who I say is my favorite artist ever when people ask me, because she's so experimental and there's always something on every album that I like. So shout out to her. I hope she makes music forever.
Shout out.
And now it's time for a movie.
Now it's time to talk about some bottoms. I'm going to throw out the IMDb logline for y'all. So here goes. 2 unpopular queer high school students start a fight club to have sex before graduation.
It's pretty good. I would throw in 2 extra words in there, with cheerleaders.
Yes, I think that makes it perfect. But we are starting off pretty well.
We are.
For season 2.
I think that's accurate.
I would say better than season 1, but at this point I was not doing any of this. So,
True. We've come such a long way.
I will throw out the credits and the genre. The film is a satirical black comedy directed by Emma Seligman. It's produced by Elizabeth Banks, Max Handelman, and Allison Smalls. It's written by Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett. The cinematography is by Maria Ruschke, Rusche, apologies. Also, I wanted to say, the word cinematography is not going to be a problem for me this season. I am predicting. I
like it.
I will hammer down this season.
Let's go.
The film is edited by Hannah Park, and the music is composed by Charli XCX and Leo Birenberg. Little connection to our album. And
hell yeah,
one of the big reasons why we did this pairing.
Exactly.
So, yeah. It is also distributed by Metro Goldwyn Mayer Pictures, which I was not expecting. Well, and I'm also wondering if this was before Amazon bought MGM.
I believe because this is 2023, and I think Amazon bought MGM in late 2023.
Yeah, so that does.
And now
track.
all of their movies have flopped since then.
Exactly.
Coincidence? No,
I think not. The film stars Rachel Sennett, Io Debris, Nicholas Galatson, Ruby Cruz, Havana Rose Liu, Kaya Gerber, Marshawn Lynch, and many, many others. It is kind of an ensemble film. Now, what is the main thing they say about the film industry, Brandon, and what you should be doing while you're at university or in film school?
It should probably be the word of advice that we opened this season with, which is write what you know.
Close. I was looking for networking.
Oh, okay. That's another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about who you know. And that
I was
going to
say,
true.
The first thing that they would say is, do you really want to be here?
Well, that's also true.
But yeah.
Well, I feel like the other big thing that they would say is give us like $500,000 for 4 years of university.
True.
But,
they'd also ask, who's your dad? Does he have money? Does he work in the film industry? Can he get me a job?
To quote Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is your daddy and what does he do? Anyways.
That's former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to you.
That's right. Former Mr. Universe.
Hell yeah. Let's go. All right. We're already off the rails.
Anyways, as I said before, what they always tell you is it's all about who you know. And I will extrapolate that to who you're friends with. Because not only were Rachel Sennett and Io Debris roommates while at NYU, but Emma Seligman also attended at the very same time as them. And this, of course, led to the first collaboration between Seligman and Sennett, the short film Shiva Baby. It was Seligman's thesis film, and it caught the attention of Hollywood and would result in another collaboration between Sennett and Seligman as lead actor and writer/director when Seligman wrote and directed the feature film adaptation of the short film called Shiva Baby also. It's of course no surprise then that when Bottoms was announced, they decided to work together again, and they also collaborated as writers on this film. And of course, Sennett's roommate Io Debris joined. And as Seligman would describe the film, it was a, quote, campy queer high school comedy in the vein of Wet Hot American Summer, but more for a Gen Z queer audience, end quote. Which I think totally tracks, even though I've never seen Wet Hot American Summer. So
I agree, and I've also never seen it.
Yes. But there was a big issue when it came to actually pitching this. And what do you think that was?
I would assume that it's queer.
Yes, that was the big problem. No one wanted to produce the film because of the fact that the two main characters are lesbians and that there's an overtly sexual premise, which...
Classic Hollywood.
Classic Hollywood. Let me just say, if it was about two straight leads, or let me just say, maybe even two gay leads, they would not have had a problem. That's what I kind of personally think.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially. I will say definitely for the two straight leads, it would not have been 100%. A problem. 100%. I feel like there is just this very large bias against lesbians within Hollywood.
And society.
Yes, well, that goes without saying. Let's just say.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood is a reflection of society.
Exactly. And I will say it was so bad that some executives refused to even hear their pitch, which is kind of crazy. But eventually, Orion did accept the project. But that did not mean that their issues were over, because they filmed this in New Orleans, which is in the deep red South, obviously. So they had trouble finding locations because schools did not want to be involved with the production. This only got worse when the Archdiocese, is that how you say that?
Archdiocese.
Thank you. Archdiocese of New Orleans learned about the film and actively campaigned against it, which resulted in some schools pulling their agreement to work with the film.
This is like some 1990s shit. It's
Literally.
like this was 2023 or probably 2022 when they were making it. It's like, come on, guys, we've moved past this. Like
when I was reading this, I was like, this is legitimately crazy that this happened, and it's like in the 2020s.
Some things never change.
That's true. They eventually had to shoot in an abandoned elementary school. So I will also say the film didn't get product deals even from the most progressive companies, which, let me just throw this out there. Any company that says they're progressive just says it because they think that they can sell that to people that are progressive. So,
yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, that's capitalism for you.
There are no progressive companies in actuality.
That's the whole reason why we say we're progressive. So we have a progressive audience. Yeah. Just kidding. We actually believe it. And no amount of money is going to change that.
That's right. Oh, wait, what? Facebook wants to give us $1 million deal? All right, never mind.
Facebook?
Not kidding. I'm kidding. We are obviously kidding. Another note about filming, Marshawn Lynch accepted the role of Mr. G. Let me just say he's amazing in this film. But
shout out.
Love him. He is amazing. But he accepted it because he saw it as, quote, an opportunity to correct his wrongs, end quote. Turns out he hadn't handled his sister's coming out well when he was 16. So he kind of took this role as a way of righting that wrong, which, let me say, this is how you grow as a person, guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. He also went to his sister when he got the role and like discussed it with her, which kudos to him.
By all accounts, Marshawn Lynch is one of the nicest people ever. So shout out.
And it seems like that included on the set of this film. Another note, in the scene where Summer Joy Campbell screams, "Yes, Queen Slay," which is one of the funny scenes of the film, in my opinion, Seligman said that she went so hard for it that she literally ruined her voice, which, if that's not method acting, what is? And a final note, in the final fight scene with Huntington High, the sword that is used by the Viking mascot is a replica of Andúril, which is, of course, from Lord of the Rings. Little connection there.
Wow.
Our Lord of the Rings episode.
Not expecting that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw the note, I was like, really? And then, because I had seen the film before and I had noticed it, but when I was rewatching it, I was looking for it and I was like, oh yeah, that is totally
crazy.
Totally that sword. The film came out in 2023. It came out August 25th and made $12.9 million on a budget of 11.3.
Oh,
so maybe not the biggest success financially, but it did get positive reviews from critics, especially for the performances and the directing. It also got 5 stars from Io Debris, because this was back when she had a Letterboxd account. She wrote the review, quote, "I'm in this with my friends, so ... end quote."
I remember seeing this when it came out.
It literally became the most popular review on the site. It got 120,000 likes before she eventually, sadly, deleted her account in 2025, which, man, I'm so sad that Io Debris did. I would have loved to follow that account. I think I even did before it got deleted. That account was also obviously the where the phrase "I am seated" came from, I believe, or was that Twitter? In any case, Io Debris coined the term "I am seated," in case you guys didn't know. Which leads me to my first question, Brandon, and that is, are you a bottom?
I don't know how to answer that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, obviously. No, my first actual question is, what did you know about this film going into it? And did you have any idea what to expect from it?
I knew Charli XCX, of course, and I knew that she scored this movie. I ended up listening to the score, and I was kind of like, okay, sure. I don't know. It's fine. It's not like anything crazy.
Right.
So I didn't really know anything, I guess, about this movie other than it was like kind of a teen comedy. And it seemed like something I would like.
We have seen some high school / university school or university movies, kind of some coming of age movies. How does this compare to those?
I don't want to get into my score and all of that, but I didn't like it as much as many others that we watched.
I have only one last question before we can kind of get into it, but I mean, I feel like I already know what you're going to say, and I feel like everyone kind of knows what we're going to say, but thoughts on the fact that no one wanted to make this?
I find it crazy that they wouldn't even take meetings. I think that's the thing that like really surprised me. But I will say, if I took the meeting and then I heard the pitch and I read part of the script, I probably would not have made this either. That goes into my score and my thoughts about the movie overall.
That's interesting.
Which I guess we should probably get into.
Which I'm going to predict it's a... Based off that, I'm like, should I just tell... I'm going to say you give it a 2.5 based off that. I think it's very interesting that Hollywood, which is like supposedly very progressive, was the place where the meetings were being refused. Then again, I think it's very different, like on the creative side versus the executive side.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
Very, very different. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that.
Exactly. That's the hardest thing that like people will never understand until you like come face to face with it in Hollywood. Even in like academia, Hollywood adjacent academia, it's like, okay, you can be whoever you want to be, but you got to write the things that we want from you. Like you can't tell your own story. You got to tell the stories that we want. And I find that to be fascinating. And that's kind of an aspect that normal, everyday Americans who have no connection to Hollywood or like the entertainment industry, like never really seem to get, because they always think it's like, oh yeah, it's everybody's woke in Hollywood. It's like, not really. Like there's a lot of Republicans and most of them are executives. And then you have us, the creatives, who are the ones saying we should probably like try to change the things that we make and like become better and more tolerant people, you know?
And I strongly do believe that the only reason why this did get made was because you had, you know, a director who had directed something that was very well known and very well liked. You had stars that were like blowing up at that time because, you know, Rachel Sennett had already been in something like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I believe The Bear was at least beginning to ramp up, if not already big by this time. I think the first season came out the same year that this movie came out. So I think that's honestly probably the only reason why this did get made. And I do feel that there's probably a lot of films that don't get made from smaller artists.
Yes, I agree.
When compared to something like this. So
Emma Seligman did have the luck of Shiva Baby being well received and like kind of establishing her as a young artist to watch. So I feel like she did kind of get some benefit from that a lot of other smaller artists trying to make similar things don't get.
Which is also part of the game where it also is kind of luck. Yes, it's a lot of hard work, but a lot of it is also luck. So some people get lucky and some people don't. And that's just kind of the name of the game. I don't have any other questions, so I did want to throw it to you. I know you have some notes, and I'm very intrigued by what your thoughts are, because honestly, I was not sure what you would think of the film.
So I actually wrote down quite a bit here, and I guess I'll just kind of go in order of my notes. I have 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph: I think I'm sick of movies where lying is the problem that has to be solved. It feels childish and like kind of a cop-out to tell a story. I also feel like it harkens back to children's entertainment and like kind of Disney Channel stuff that we grew up on, where it's like, lying is bad, kids, don't do it. And that's kind of like the moral of the story at the end of the episode. I kind of felt that the same way here, where it's like, oh, they're lying and they're getting into trouble because they're lying. It's like, I don't know. I just don't find it as compelling as other, I guess it's not really a framing device, I guess beats to hit in a story. I also have that I don't really care for the 2020s vibe for media, television and movies. There's a general angst towards everything, but it's layered under so much irony and nonchalance that it doesn't appear that anyone truly cares about anything. And I mean this both from partly a creative standpoint, but mostly a character standpoint and a writing standpoint. I don't find the characters who don't care about anything to be super compelling. And you could say they do care about something, which is having sex with cheerleaders, but do they? The attitude in the movie to me is more like, I guess this is what we're supposed to want to do. And I don't really find that super compelling. And people can say I don't understand it and that it wasn't made for me, because it wasn't. And that's totally fine. I accept that. But I can still appreciate well-made films that aren't for me. And I feel like this is kind of missing that thing that like really, I guess, got me interested in it. There's just not really anything that stuck with me besides Marshawn Lynch, who I think is actually very good in this film. But even then, his character is written in a way where it seems like his whole purpose is to be a joke and not necessarily to be a character who's funny. Finally, I have seen plenty of movies and TV episodes that hit the same beats as this, but have more heart than this. And there's not really anything that made me want to come back to it outside of a few jokes. But to me, that's not really enough. Like, I love comedy. I think it's great, but there needs to be something to tie that comedy to, some sort of story that's deeper than just what this was. Like the 2020s attitude, this seems to kind of only exist to be sort of funny, and it forgets to add in any feelings or sincerity that makes the big set piece of this film hit on any sort of emotional level. And shout out to Party For You, the Charli XCX song. What a great song. One of my favorites by her of all time. But even that cannot make up for the lack of emotional stakes in the script, even though it kind of did get me a little bit where I was like, oh, I'm kind of liking this. But it's such a great song that it's like, I feel like it's kind of a cop out to put that at the big emotional moment because you're not delivering any sort of emotional thing in the film. And I have seen this written a few times. And friend of the show, Grace, we talked about this movie at one point after she had watched it, and she said that she didn't think I would like it despite me saying that I thought I would like it. And she had said it felt like a first draft of a script that they ended up shooting. And I feel like I agree with that. And I think that's why I would take the meeting and then I would say no, because I feel like the script from like a fundamental screenplay standpoint needs a lot of work for it to like actually work for me. Now, that's not to say I didn't laugh out loud. There were plenty of moments in here that I laughed out loud. I think it's quite a funny script overall. I think the characters, like I feel like what the actors were given to work with, they did a good job bringing them to life, but I don't think that there was really enough of anything in the screenplay for them to feel like fully developed characters or people. And I know it's a satire. I know it's like it's meant to have that kind of like ironic edge to it. But I feel like you just need some sort of sincerity here for it to like feel like there's a purpose to it. So you were right. I did end up giving this movie a 2.5.
Ha, I knew it.
I initially went in thinking if I like this, it's going to be a 3.5. If I don't like this, it's going to be a 3. And this actually I disliked more than I thought I would. So that was kind of unfortunate.
It's really interesting to me because I agree with a lot that you said, and yet at the same time I feel like those issues are issues, but they're to me much smaller in the grand scope of the film, so it does end up being a very enjoyable film for me to watch. It's really interesting watching this film because it is the type of film that I really enjoy watching because it is so funny. But it is kind of like I don't remember it very much. Like
yeah.
it is a little forgettable to me. But because it is so enjoyable, when I walk out of watching the film, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really fun time. And that is reflecting in my score, because my score for this film is a 4. Even though I have a lot of similar issues, I do definitely think that it leans into that 2020s style of Gen Z comedy, which I feel like a lot of times feels kind of what you're saying, very insincere, very surface level, and to me, typically not that funny.
Yeah.
I feel like here they were able to make it quite funny, and I feel like that's ultimately what makes the film work for me, because to me, it kind of feels like the film can work without being very sincere and being maybe slightly more surface level because it's just such a fun time. It kind of feels like it's more about the comedy than the other aspects of the film to me. And I think that's ultimately why this film does really, really work for me. Interestingly enough, the three actors that I think really shine here and that make it work for me are Marshawn Lynch and Nicholas Galatson on the comedy side, because I think they both bring a lot and kind of make their characters funnier than what they could have been, especially when it comes to Marshawn Lynch. And then B, Io Debris, because I feel like she takes what she is given and adds a little bit of depth to it.
100% agree.
Yeah,
she stole the show for me. I thought she was amazing in this.
I feel like if there's anyone, it's her. Even though I still understand what you mean about it being much more surface level than maybe it could have been.
Yeah, watching her performance, I was like, wow, she's giving so much and the script is not giving her anything back. Like, she's taking it and running with it, but it's still, there's not enough there to like tell a compelling story.
Maybe another reason why it does work for me why I gave it a 4, for instance, and why it does work for me is the fact that it is a satire, which for some reason makes the fact that there is less depth kind of work more for me, because in a way it kind of feels like a satire of, teen movies that don't have depth, so it kind of feels like it's making fun of those types of movies by being like that, which I think is what does make it work for me quite a lot, and why it is a 4 ultimately, even though I do have very similar issues with it.
I feel like that's a super hard line to walk, because I could tell that that's what they were trying to go for, but to me there was no like wink wink nudge nudge where like this is what we're trying to do moment in it. It just felt like it was kind of a mess, like from a script level.
That is interesting, because I think for me that it really came across because of how wild it is in a way. Because obviously, like, if you had teenagers beating each other up to the point of breaking each other's noses, that would get shut down, stuff like that. The fact that they're stabbing people with a sword at the end, like, it's so over the top that it feels kind of like it has to be a satire to me. Like, it automatically tracks.
It definitely does have that vibe of like it is a satire, but I feel like for me the big thing is it doesn't have the characters that make it feel like
which I do see.
Like there's a kind of anything more than it just being a satire, which is like cool, it's a satire. Like I like satire too, but I also like story more than anything else. And
which I do also get.
Something you said about the comedy being the main aspect is something that I have a problem with, and is kind of the reason that I hated the movie Friendship as well, is it's so focused on the comedy and so focused on the jokes that it forgets to kind of do everything else, which I don't like as a style of movie, like just in general. And
which is ironically another movie that I do enjoy.
Exactly, yeah. And that's
although I do enjoy it more than Bottoms.
That's fair. I think, you gave that one a 4.5. So it makes sense.
I think it's a stronger film.
But I am going to do this new thing. I mentioned it one time in Dune, but I think I'm going to try to, maybe I'll make it into a tag on Letterboxd that I put something in. But there are certain movies, after I watch them, I'm like, holy shit, that's life-changing. Even if it's not a 5. I had this with Dead Poet Society. I had this with Call Me By Your Name. And I was like, wow, that's life-changing. There are also movies that I watch and I finish them and I think to myself, this is why I don't watch movies. And this was one of those, much like Dune and much like Friendship, where I was like, I just don't care. I'd much rather watch a TV show and spend so much more time learning about the characters and watching them grow and change over the course of a story, instead of just kind of watching them start in the same place and end in the same place and feel nothing the entire time. Except for some jokes, which, I love the good jokes. I feel like I agree with you that they did Gen Z comedy in a way that's actually funny in this movie, which I enjoyed.
Right.
But, it all comes down to story for me, and there's not enough of a story here. I also felt like Punky Johnson, being the like Rhodes, I think was her name, the mentor, came completely out of nowhere, and I did not understand why it was there. I thought she was good. She was a fun character. It's a fun idea, but it was not set up like at all, except for one offhand mention that doesn't make you think, oh, she's going to be in the film. So I was very confused about that.
I think this definitely could have benefited a lot from more drafts. I do completely agree with that. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's fun, somewhat, but it's not something that I'm ever going to return to. And that's fine. It will hold a special place in my heart because of Party for You being in the final scene of the movie. I think it fits super well. Love that song. That's probably, I don't know. I say that's Charli XCX's best song, but it's not my favorite song by her because there's another one that holds an even more special place in my heart than that one. But yeah, I feel like that was such a nice moment, but that's what I'll remember this movie for as well. Like when I think about the positives is that nice ending scene and the comedy.
I would say that we have had a great pairing for our first episode.
I agree.
Not only because of Charli XCX being involved in both, but it seems like it is kind of like similar feelings for both in a way.
At least the Vroom Vroom EP for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Hey, great pairing.
Great way to kick off season 2. And we have so much more to talk about. We have so many amazing things planned for you. We have so many amazing guests planned for you.
That's right.
And maybe some bonus episodes, which you won't know when those come out, but they will come out at some point.
At some point. It'll probably be a while before we do one, but keep that in
a
mind.
little while.
You always check our Instagram because that's where we post about them.
And that's where you can also see our post about what next week's episode is going to be. Hint, hint, it's depressing as hell.
Hell yeah.
But you need some of that too.
And of course, you can follow us on Letterboxd and rate your music if you want to see our takes on everything that we watched and listened to on this show and everything that we watched and listened to outside of this show.
That's right.
That's in our link tree, of course, along with our Instagram in there. And that link tree is in our description of this episode. And it's also on the bio of the Instagram. Crazy how that works.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
If you want to support the show, you can leave a rating on Spotify. You can leave a review on Apple. You can tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone you think might hate hyperpop or might love hyperpop, because there are only two types of people in this world. You either love it or you hate it.
And we represent that yin yang ourselves.
Exactly.
And lastly, if you want to tell us about how much you love or hate hyperpop, you can also email at us at upcpod@gmail.com. Guys, we did not get one email our whole first season. Let's break that for our second season.
I don't know that I wanted you to necessarily tell everyone that, but that's okay.
We're going to get like 20 in one
20 emails in the first episode. So everyone, if you have any thoughts about why Lip Gloss is actually one of the best songs on the mixtape, you can email us, of course, at upcpod@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment right here on the episode on Spotify. Let us know, because I'm very curious about your thoughts. And of course, we will see you next week.
Bye.